Good evening. How are all y'all? Why, it's a very, very sedate crowd this evening for just a few days after school is out. You're all already missing your students, aren't you? That's what I figured. All right, great. That being the case, I'd like to call the June meeting of the East Central Independent School Trustees Board to order. Ms. Barrientos, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Del Brazil.
Present.
We've got new microphones, so we're...
Yes.
Turn the game down.
Victor Garza. It's your metal plate in your head. Oh, sorry to say out loud. Don Massengale.
Here.
James Mulkey.
I don't need a mic.
Monique Presses. Ms. G. Bryant.
Present.
Sir, we have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to agenda item 2, prayer and the pledge. Mr. Toscano, please.
So, Mr. President, we have some staff and a student from Harmony Elementary School this evening to get us started.
Good evening, Mr. Bryant, Mr. Toscano, and the Central School Board. My name is Leanne Brooks, and today, representing Harmony, I have Belinda Rivera, who will be saying the prayer and the pledge.
Please bow your head for the prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for blessing and guiding our school's district this year. We pray that you will continue giving strength to our school board, staff, and teachers. We thank all of them for their hard work, dedication, and love for us this year. Please bless them and their families and continue to lead our district. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. You may be seated.
This afternoon, we'd like to give the school board gifts as well from Harmony.
Thank you, Belinda. Well, Belinda, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Are you glad school's out? No? You may bring her back to the school board meeting anytime. Thank you very much, Belinda, for starting our meeting off this evening. It's always a great honor for us to see students from the district, and you've represented your school extremely well. So thank you for being here. Moving on, awards and recognitions.
Trustees, we have a couple of exceptional people that we would like to recognize this evening. One is a student who is an extraordinary artist, and the other is a teacher who is a digital innovator. Ms. Colas?
Good evening, Mr. Toscano, Mr. Bryant, school board members. Tonight, we would like to recognize two outstanding East Central stakeholders. We would first like to call up Ms. Crystal Zigman. Congressman Henry Cuellar selected Crystal Zigman as the winner of the 2016 Congressional Art Competition for Texas's 28th District. Her winning entry is a pen and ink drawing entitled Who Rescued Who, which depicts her and her dog shaking hands. The Congressional Art Competition gives the nation's young artists the opportunity to compete for the chance to have their work displayed in the United States Capitol building. Zigman was selected out of 180 contestants. As the winner of the art competition, Crystal is invited to fly to Washington, D.C. this month, courtesy of Southwest Airlines, where she will attend a reception and a ribbon-cutting ceremony with her family and Congressman Cuellar, where her artwork will be displayed. Congratulations. And I would just like to say that that's the second time in about 3 years that we have had an East Central student win the Congressional Art Contest for our district. So thank you for carrying on the tradition. I know Crystal's parents are here. Could y'all please stand up and be recognized? Thank you so much. Next, we would like to recognize Ms. Maribel Garcia. Congratulations to Maribel, who is a third grade teacher at Pecan Valley, for being selected as the 2016 PBSI Learning Media Digital Innovator. As a member of this impressive group of educators from across the country, she'll receive 1 year of free professional development from PBS. This year-long professional development program will foster and grow a community of tech-savvy educators that will serve as ambassadors for integrating best practices in digital learning in classrooms across the country. She was selected because she's a leader with a desire to empower her peers and share strategies around digital media integration, and she is an active sharer of content and ideas through social media. So please join me in congratulating Maribel Garcia on this impressive accomplishment. And we would like to recognize her family. I see her mom. Her mom is also a counselor in the district at Pecan Valley. So I see mom, dad, y'all. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
All right. It doesn't appear that we have any public comments this evening. Thank you, ma'am. So we will move on into our public hearing. We have public hearing for optional flexible school day program annual report.
Yes, sir, Mr. Bryant. Trustees, as you'll recall, our OFSDP, or Optional Flexible School Day Program, is a program that we've had for several years in the district. And the nature of the program is to provide a flexible school day option to meet the needs of students who are identified as at risk per the Texas Educational Code guidelines. And so the idea is that students who are overage, students who are struggling to meet graduation requirements for various reasons, have flexible options that we can provide them by way of this program. And so at this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions about that program, if there are any, and Ms. Hertz has a brief report regarding that if you guys would like that.
As Mr. Toscano let you know, this is our, it's part of our dropout prevention, dropout recovery program, and it allows some flexibility as far as how we monitor the attendance in the program, and it also allows us some flexibility in how we deliver the instruction. This year we had 243 students that we served. The population of the OFSDP very much reflects the population of the high school campus as far as percentages of the different demographic groups. We did have, out of those 243, 152 of them graduated, so 63%. Most of the rest of them are either continuing in the program or maybe doing a combination of the program and the main campus. We did, out of those 243, only have 12 dropouts, so only 4%. And so then also within the population, within special groups, economically disadvantaged is a little higher than the rest of the campus. However, it's pretty much in line with the district as a whole. So we really feel like this program, which we've had for many, many years, has been very successful. We have lots of kids that really benefit from it because it meets the needs of our really highest at-risk students. Questions?
Anyone have any questions? I think we're good.
Thank you, Ms. Hertz.
So at this point, since it is a public hearing, I'm going to offer any comments that anyone might have in the audience for the Flexible School Day Program Annual Report. Anyone have any comments? All right. We will move on then. Item 6, Superintendent's Reports, Upcoming Events.
Sir, trustees, if you would follow along with me briefly in your miscellaneous packet, taking a look at the June and July calendars. A couple of events I would like to call your attention to. Tomorrow is the district's annual Reggie West Memorial Golf Tournament. If you'll recall that tournament, the proceeds benefit directly our social services program in the district, and so we'll have a lot of staff and community members participate at Starkey Park in Seguin tomorrow morning. Looks like Sunday's a big day for those fathers in the building here today. And moving on to July, the week of July 4th will be the exception to our work week, in that we're actually working that particular Friday because we will be off on Monday for July 4th. And then our next regularly scheduled meeting is on July 21st. Mr. Bryant in particular, but other trustees, our leadership workshop or retreat, if you will, this year is on July 27th, 28th, and 29th. And typically, Mr. Bryant welcomes leadership back and says a few words. And of course, you're all invited for a little breakfast that morning to welcome everybody back if you're available on the 27th.
All right, anyone have any questions about events? Here it is, just a few days after school, and we're talking about welcome back. Okay. 2015-2016 Curriculum Year-End Report.
Mr. President and trustees, if you would look in your packet, beginning on page 12, page 12 to 15 actually represents our curriculum end-of-year report. You'll notice that report is quite a bit lengthier than our other departmental reports that have been presented to you thus far. But of course, that's as it should be. Curriculum and instruction, teaching and learning is our core business. At this time, Ms. Hertz is going to present an overview of that report. You'll hear some things that you're very familiar with, including our instructional models, our professional development training programs, as well as district initiatives. So if you would, Ms. Hertz, provide the board an overview at this time.
Good evening again. As Mr. Toscano said, there is a report in the board book, but I'm going to hit some of the highlights of it. Our primary focus this year really has been to increase the instructional support on campuses. One of the ways that we are doing that is we did a little bit of restructuring with staff so that we can have instructional specialists in all 4 core content areas, as well as electives, and also for some of our special populations like special ed, CTE, and then next year we're planning on having bilingual. So those people are out on campuses. They are working on helping teachers plan model lessons. They are doing some coaching with them, and also providing professional development. So those started in January, and they've been doing that all this spring, and then they already are starting to do their planning for next year as far as how they're going to be supporting the campuses. Also, another part of what they've been doing for several years, we've had Readers and Writers Workshop, as well as our 90-minute math block. So for this coming year, we needed to put into place a science instructional model and a social studies instructional model. So they spent some time this spring doing some research on that. And so they've decided on what that model is going to be, and we will be doing professional development in August and rolling that out for next school year. Another focus this year has been college and career readiness. So we really have taken a little bit of a different approach than a lot of districts do on this. We've really taken academics, or advanced academics, GT, and AVID, and married it with CTE. In a lot of districts, they kind of butt heads, those different programs, and don't see themselves as being all with the same goal. But in our district, we put it together. So that, and those staff members have worked very closely to come up with some different programs for the kids, different activities they can do that really help them get more ready for whatever they're going to do post-secondary. Some of the really exciting things that we've done that have come out of that office this year, for the first time, I believe, we do have some of our students, 5 of them, that are doing summer internships here in our district with different departments within the district, because, you know, as you know, we run 12 months out of the year, so a lot of those departments have a lot going on in the summer. So we've got our kids working with us. That's in a partnership with SA Works. It was a citywide initiative, but our district stepped up and decided we would be part of it. And so we've got that going on. We've also expanded our partnerships this year. The National Park Service, we've been doing some service learning with them. We're going to be partnering with Goodwill Industries. We met with them the other day, and we're going to be able to add a medical assistant program for our students next year, and so that'll be one of our new partners. In AVID, which that's our advancement via individual determination. I know you've heard of AVID. This year we did expand that to one of our elementaries and both intermediates. So that group over there at our College and Career Readiness Center have really done a lot this year to move forward in that area. A third area that has been a big focus this year for our department has been behavior. So we've had for many years academic RTI, or response to intervention, where we've given support to our students that needed a little extra help. So we have extended that to behavior. So now we have behavior RTI. We have a 3-tier support system for them. We've partnered with Emergent Tree, which we've done that for a few years, but we've continued that this year. This year we added Tier 2 support, which included a universal behavior screener that we did on all of our campuses, so we could identify students that might need a little more support in the area of behavior. And we feel like that's been really successful. We did see some gains in our annual report that we got from Emergent Tree as far as our implementation of the program. And then also, in addition to that, we do now have a behavior specialist in the district that can work with campuses, giving them some ideas on how to work with some of our kids that have behavior issues. CCG and CDG, I know we have a lot of acronyms that we use in our department, but that's our campus continuous growth and our continuous district growth. Those are our teams that meet and plan together and look at the data and set their goals, and then they monitor the progress throughout the year. And we have those on each campus as well as at the district level. Those teams have worked very closely as far as planning for next year. We kind of changed our process and our timeline this year so that the CCG and CDG teams were working, setting goals, setting the campus goals and performance objectives that you will see later on in the agenda. And then from that, they'll develop the campus improvement plans and district improvement plans. And so we wanted all of that to coincide with when we were doing the budget planning, so that whatever they're putting in their improvement plans, they can actually build into their budgets so they can start right away at the beginning of the school year. So we changed the timeline up a little bit this year, and actually quite a bit, not just a little bit. And so those teams have been very integral in coming up with those goals. Another thing that really got some focus this year that maybe not so much before, we put in some things for STEM. We had the VEX robotics program at middle school and high school, and even had a very successful competition. There's it's a game, it's like an online game called Minecraft, and we did some before school, after school activities for intermediate and middle school kids. And then we had an activity called Hour of Code in December, because I know you've heard that there's a big push, particularly here in San Antonio, for more students to learn how to code, to go into computer science fields. And so we participated in, it was a nationwide event through code.org, and so we had kids at all of our schools participate in what they called an Hour of Code, where they had activities appropriate to their levels, getting them prepared for the prerequisites for being able to do computer coding. And the last thing I want to mention is we made some changes to our summer programs this year. We're calling it Summer at ECISD. We took all of the things that we have in the summer and put them together with one registration process, so it would be easier for parents. They wouldn't have to go here to register for this and there to register for that. So athletics and summer enrichment and our acceleration programs are all under one umbrella now. So we're hoping that that was helpful to parents to be able to have it all together like that. And so far, so good. It's been very successful. I would be happy to answer any questions you may have. Like I said, in the written report, there's a lot more details of all of these things.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I did. I had a couple of questions. Thank you. Great report. I'll start with the summer at ECISD. Does that include, or will that be including the library programs
Yes,
that
that
you were
is also
having at
part
the
of it.
various schools? Okay, and are you gonna? Is it gonna be marketed like it was the last time, like letting other people know about it that normally wouldn't know, or?
Yeah, we did have things on the website, and we sent flyers home, and yes, that was all part of that whole packet of
Yeah.
summer programs.
Okay, because am I mistaken? Last year was the first year we did that, right? That's
It
what and I
was,
was
and
wondering
also-
how well that was going to be going. Okay, and
Let
then
me tell you one more thing. And so to kick that off, we also sent buses around with books that we were giving away in neighborhoods and popsicles for the kids to let them know about the library program.
wow, I thought that was really cool. And forgive me if I didn't quite understand. I wanted to go back to the emergent tree behavior
Yes.
support system. This is new.
It's
or
not new.
is it? Okay.
This is actually, it's been about a 3-year rollout. We started with our, what's called Tier 3, which is our most at need students. A lot of them, not all, but a lot of them are in special education and maybe have some sort of emotional needs and or have some high-risk behaviors, that sort of thing. So we started with that initially. Then we moved to Tier 1, which is the basic classroom behavior, and the schools came up with behavior plans for their campuses. And then now this year we went to Tier 2, which is the one kind of in the middle, and we started doing a behavior screener for all students so that we could, and it's a system that Emergent Tree has, so we could identify the kids that were at risk for possibly having some more behavior issues, and then we have some plans in place and some instruction for them and things like that.
And I'm very impressed with that, because as I was looking at that, and I see it's a tiered approach, then you kind of, if it's available to all students, you kind of, I guess, evaluate those that may need to go to the other tiers. And then the behavior specialist that was added this year will help that. And
Yeah,
so,
she works
and then
with the
my part B to that question is, is it too soon to measure this yet, or do we know the outcome of? In other words, have we looked at some behavioral changes or something that that has really made changes in the students' behavior that's really made a positive difference since we started this, or is it too soon to measure that
So-
since we're just finishing the school year.
I made a note because we did get some annual discipline data compiled and reported to us today. We've seen just from last year to this year an 11% reduction district-wide in serious discipline referrals that were processed in the offices across the district. So now that we've fully implemented Tier 1, 2, and 3, the idea is to identify potentially misguided behaviors and teach appropriate options. And so it's a preventative, proactive approach to behavior, and making behavior something we teach is important as algebra, as opposed to just handling it afterwards reactively with consequences. And so we're very fully implemented after 3 years, all 3 tiers, Tier 1, 2, and 3. So I think this is the first year that we're seeing some serious impact in terms of the outcome, one of which is measurable is behavior referrals.
Thank you. It's great. I'm excited. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'd like to, Ms. Rokas, sorry to call you out. I was wondering if you had any early numbers in terms of summer participation across programs?
Yes, I believe right now we're seeing about 320 kids at John Glenn for pre-K through basically 5th grade, basically 4th to 5th grade. And then we have approximately about 120 summer enrichment camps, and we're in the second week of that. Next week is our big week. A lot of crisscrossing between the main campus and South Campus, and culinary and art for heart is really good. I do not know the current number of course academies or credit recovery maybe in the 100s, but I'm not for sure exactly what that number is. But it's going, I think, around about 1,000 kids. We're kind of hit that mark, if not higher. So.
Yeah, so if you'll recall, trustees, mid-year we talked about this and the efforts that went into really centralizing this for the community. And we put some provisions in place that we're going to increase access across the community, and we were shooting for about 1,400 students that we'd be able to serve. And if we're already approaching 1,000 at this stage in the game, it looks like we're on course to serve the number of students we were hoping for.
So our registration, I did forget about athletic camps, are all sitting, I think, at least in the double, 30s, 40s, so they're right on line what they've been in the past, which is good because we were concerned about registration and changing practices and habits and all that. So I think we're going to be doing really
Good. Proof principles that you can all be called on at any point in time. Be ready.
You don't all have to leave at once.
Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Hurt? All right. Then we will move on to our bilingual dual language program annual report.
Well, Ms. Hertz. So trustees, per the Texas Education Agency, the district conducts an annual bilingual ESL program review. And at the end of that review annually, we prepare a summary presentation for the board. This year's report is on page 17 and runs through page 20 in your packet, and that's the report that Ms. Hertz will review with you at this time.
So our coordinator, Claudia Garcia, I was hoping you would be able to meet with her tonight, but she actually got invited to participate in a dual language conference in Mexico. So she is there right now doing that. That was really an honor for her to be invited for that. As Mr. Toscano said, it's a legal requirement that we have our bilingual annual report that we give to the board. It is part of curriculum, but we separated it out for the separate report. So there's actually some things in the curriculum department report about bilingual, but I'm going to talk about it now. So we have the bilingual program that we use is dual language. There are some options, but we use dual language. We have what's called dual language one-way immersion at pre-K, which means that it is only for non-native English speakers. It's native Spanish speakers, basically. And so that's for pre-K, but then started at kindergarten, we have what's called a two-way immersion program, which is where we have native Spanish speakers and native English speakers. And so then that way we have the Spanish speakers that are learning English, and then the English speakers are learning Spanish. And I know that you know all of that sort of thing, but so that's the two types of programs we have. There is a chart in your packet that tells you the numbers of students in the program compared to the district enrollment. I do want to make one correction on that. The number for GT under the total district enrollment is actually 625, so that was a little typo there. I want to point out, if you look at percentages of the different special programs within dual language, we have a little bit higher GT percentage in dual language than in the general population. But then the special ed population is a little lower in dual language than it is in the general population. The LAP population in dual language is 60%, because remember, not everyone in the dual language program is limited English proficient, because the English speakers are also counted in with that. So the LAP population within dual language is 60% of the total population in dual language. So there are some differences in how the percentages of dual language are compared to the total district, but part of that has to do with the nature of the program. We have had for 14 years what's called a 90-10 model, which means that starting at kinder and first grade, 90% of the instruction is in Spanish and 10% is in English, and then they step their way up until 5th grade. It's 50-50. We do plan on making some changes to that model next year. We did do quite a bit of research on this to make sure we were still going to be using an effective model, and so we are going to be moving to what's called an 80-20 model. So it's the same principle, it just means that 80% of the instruction will be in Spanish and 20% will be in English starting in kinder, and then it does step up still, but they will be 50-50 by 4th grade. The reason why we did that is, looking at our data, it looked like some of our students may not be acquiring the English language as quickly as we would like, and so based on our research, we decided we were just going to adjust the instructional minutes a little bit so they'll get a little more English instruction earlier on. So hopefully they'll be able to acquire English a little sooner in their school career. So we're making that little adjustment for next year based on the data that we have. You also have a chart there in your report for TELPAS. TELPAS is the state assessment that students take to measure their English language proficiency. We did see a 2% increase in growth this year across the district, and we did have a few schools that had some really significant increases. Those happen to be Legacy, Harmony, and Pecan Valley. Those had double-digit increases, so that was really encouraging. So in addition to the dual language program, we do also have what's called ESL, English as a Second Language. Generally, that has been secondary students that have been part of that. It's where they have a separate class for ESL to be learning English, and then they also get support in their classroom, in addition to being able to, through dual language, have 1 or 2 courses taught in Spanish. Now, we have started having some ESL services in elementary and intermediate now, because not always is dual language the really appropriate placement for a student, particularly if Spanish is not their native language. If it's something else, we wouldn't want to put them in a program where all the instruction is Spanish or English and they speak a 3rd language. So those students, we've been serving them now with ESL, not necessarily in dual language, if we feel like that's not the appropriate place for them. We did have this year a formal bilingual program evaluation by Region 20. We contracted with them to come in. They reviewed a sample of folders, and they also visited lots of classrooms across the district, and then compiled a report for us and gave us let us know their findings. On the positive side, they discovered that we really have really good communication and parent involvement in that program, and there's a lot of parent confidence in the program. As far as areas to improve, we just need to be doing some more training with our staff on effective instructional strategies, which we already put some of that into place this year. We've had them come in and do some training with administrative staff and some other campus personnel, and we will be continuing that next year. And then just some accolades for the program this year. Legacy Middle School was identified as a model school with the 7 steps to a language-rich classroom, and they came in and did some videoing, and then that video was shown at a conference that took place in Houston. We had 3 finalists that were Region 20, were in the Region 20 Spanish Spelling Bee. We had a teacher at Sinclair, Miss Lucia Villalobos. She was the Dual Language Teacher of the Year for Region 20. And then also our coordinator, Claudia Garcia, was named the Administrator of the Year for SABE, which is the local group for bilingual administrators. So we feel like we've had a very productive year this year in bilingual education here in the district. I'm happy to answer questions.
Questions?
Right?
I'm happy to see the model changing on your dual language instruction and getting those kiddos a little more experience at an early age. I know that that's the best time to learn a language, because that's when we all learned ours. So get them early and give them some help. All right. Federal grant application.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, the district continues to participate in the Title I, II, and III entitlement programs. The programs supplemented by those funds are listed in your electronic packet on page 21. Again, the title supplemental programs support basic programs, migrant programs, neglected or delinquent youth programming, training and recruitment of teachers and principals, English language learners, and or immigrants. This year's combined application is available for public viewing in my office. And so a copy is available for you if you're interested, or anybody if interested.
Okay. And item E, personnel report.
Yes, sir. Trustees, this is a very active time of year in the personnel department, as you can see in your report this month. A lot of movement in and out, a lot of resignations, and a lot of new employees coming on board. Staff across the district have been working diligently, recruiting, interviewing, and selecting candidates to fill available positions for next year. And of course, as always, if you'd like any additional information about any of the information in that report, I'd be happy to provide that for you.
All right. And maintenance department.
Trustees, as with all departments, like our curriculum department earlier, our maintenance department has identified goal and performance objectives in key areas.
Sorry. Okay.
You're still an athlete. Good job. And of course, the performance objectives are aligned with our board goal and performance objectives. Our district's executive director for facilities management, Linda Cavazos, is going to present the report, an overview, highlight some of the key points there in the report that you have already previewed, and provide the board also, in addition to that, with an overview of some departmental improvements that are already underway and that you can look forward to moving forward as we work to continuously improve that department as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Bryant, Mr. Toscano, members of the board. I'm pleased to present to you the Maintenance Department Goals Update Report. As Mr. Toscano mentioned, it is in the packet. In support of the academic learning environment, the Maintenance Department will be providing maintenance to all district facilities and grounds. And in measurement of achieving that goal is to have a 95 completion rate of work orders within 1 week of receiving the work order request. We were able to complete at 93.8%, which is slightly below our targeted goal, but we will continue to work on processes to complete those work orders timely in a weekly manner. The quality of service, as we reviewed the campus satisfaction surveys, those were from responses from campus administration, 11 and 10 responses from 10 and 11 campus administration. Our service, communication, and cooperation, we did see a slight increase in those responses, but we are working closely, as we've mentioned, in improving our customer service and the communication to all departments and campuses. And in regards to the culture and the climate, we did recognize the importance of increasing the campus safety and security through installation of new lock system at the high school, and that was completed through a phase, through phases, and we have already completed at a 65 completion rate, but we will continue to complete the next phase, which includes the math and science, the CTC, and the stadium and gym 3. And we're looking to complete that by fiscal year end. We also plan to increase the perception of the department by reviewing the workplace dynamic survey, and we're printing results on those. And as far as being financially responsible, and we are looking at returning 3% or more to our budget suite. And in recognition of our energy management and partnership with maintenance through Julio Alonso, we've been able to maximize and reduce energy consumption. As you can see, we have reached that goal of less than 5% reduction in energy usage, and we continue to see reductions in that impact. As we move forward, as Mr. Toscano mentioned, we are making changes in reviewing plans of action and implementing preventative maintenance programs and enhancements to the program. We have implemented a reorganization, and I do want to include and mention that we have our new frontline ground supervisor, which is Mr. Keith Moore. He's here in the audience. And our new director of facility management and purchasing, Mr. Matt Morgan. Executive Director of Facility Management, myself, and our construction manager is Richard Rapstein. The maintenance coordinator is Chris Clay, energy specialist Julio Alonso, and the custodial coordinator is Ray Sanchez. We continue to develop the plans to increase the efficiency of our department, and under energy management, we've been able to implement the LED lighting, and that's been implemented here in the boardroom. So all the lighting you see here in the boardroom are all LED lights. So that is having an approximate savings of 1,246 kilowatts. And we did complete the Gym 1 and the bus garage conversion, so that we do have the LED lighting in those areas, and the Gym 1 looks wonderful. I don't know if you've had a chance to look there, but it's great with the LED lights. And we also are improving the work expectations. We did provide work expectations and job descriptions to all the staff and met with them. And we recognize that our staff need to have the most common tools to be able to perform and do their job. So we did be able to purchase the tools that they need so they can have with them on site. We're also looking at the preventative maintenance schedules through School Dude. So we're looking at the OSHA regulations for guidelines. Although our school, as a school district, we're not required to follow OSHA requirements, but that is used as a guideline so that we can develop our best practices. We have developed training and looked at different avenues for training through Safe Schools. That's an online compliance training that we've implemented district-wide, and that's also included for the maintenance department. In addition, we're going to implement additional School Dude training as well. We've looked at protective equipment for staff and making sure that we have the correct safety equipment that the maintenance department will have. And also, in partnership with TASB, our risk management fund, they do have an assessment that can come out and review our facilities if there's inclement weather, and do an assessment on the buildings if there's any damage to the buildings, so we will have them coming out as well. Again, we are implementing enhancing training through our roof preventive maintenance, and we're enhancing training for professional development for all the staff. and we have engaged consultants for the review of the sewer treatment facility at the high school and at the Heritage facility. And as we move forward with the various construction projects, we will be providing an assessment of the needs and a detailed report of all the summer projects that we have scheduled. We currently have that on a Google Drive, so all of our facility management leaders can review and update our status updates. And we also are working closely as we approach the bond construction projects for renovations. As far as our grounds, our weekly work schedule, we have implemented that, and that's completing the preventative maintenance in the grounds at all of the campuses in athletic and co-curricular areas. We've also been able to purchase protective equipment for the grounds department, and we continue to assess the needs there. So as we continue to move forward and review the needs assessments of our department, we will implement enhancements and improvements in training and provide professional development to our team.
Ms. Cavazos, could you explain to the board what School Dude is?
School Dude, that's a work order system that we have. Currently, we have implemented that. We'll get requests in from campuses, and anything that goes out, a light fixture or ceiling tiles that need to be replaced, the work order system is, and that goes and gets assigned to a specific trade, person in that trade, work order. And we also have a preventative maintenance section in the School Dude, and that's what we're implementing district-wide, and that's including for grounds and for any of the general maintenance, and then we're including looking at the roof enhancements and preventative maintenance and anything else for the facilities.
Thank you.
Questions? No questions. Does, I have one, does your School Dude program track time to completion? You able to put in when it was estimated to be completed and when it was complete and get some deltas out of that?
It does. The School Dude program does provide the date that the work order was submitted, the day that it was assigned, and the day that it was completed, and it gives you a percentage of, and even our employees are able to put in notes regarding that work order, so we're able to track that. We can download that on an Excel spreadsheet and review that in a detailed report.
If you could even identify the staff member who completed the work as well,
Yes,
correct?
You can put it into a pivot table and look at by a monthly basis of all the work orders that were completed by our staff and who completed them, where they were assigned from, who assigned them. So,
Okay, does the person who initiated the work order have the ability to critique the work?
I haven't seen that. If that's a feature, we can look further in that. We are planning. I don't know if Richard, do you know if that's a feature?
You asked if they could critique it, where you actually ask them. I mean, can they change anything on the work order after they put it in, or what?
Yeah, so I put in a work order and say I need a room painted. And after you're through painting it, can I tell you what I think of the job that you did?
They can add their own notes, but I don't know, once the work order's been closed, they can add anything.
Okay.
I mean, if they add their comments on it, say the technician or the painter gets with them after the job is completed, if they make their comments then, they can do it, but once it's been closed, they can add anything.
Okay, all right.
That's just to say, possibly keep people from falsifying information.
That sounds like a good precaution.
It's a balance is set.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cavazos.
All right. Not that anything we've done so far is not important, but here's the biggie. And I'm not going to read this whole thing, but our action agenda item this evening is consideration and adoption of an order by the trustees of the East Central Independent School District authorizing the issuance of East Central Independent School District unlimited tax school building bonds. That's
Yes,
the
sir.
Cliff Note version.
Yes, it is. Trustees, you may recognize Victor Quiroga from Frost Financial. Our partners from Frost Financial have prepared a financial plan for the issuance and payments of the Series 2016 bonds that were approved by EC Citizens in May. Victor is the Senior Vice President for Frost Financial, and he will present the plan to the board at this time. And a draft copy of the proposed order that you'll be considering tonight is included in your packet, and it's on page 30, and it runs through page 76. Pretty lengthy document. I just wanted you to know that for your reference. But at this time, I'd like for Victor to present the plan to the board.
Honorable President, members of the board, Mr. Toscano, thank you for having me here this evening. It's great to see everybody again. First, I want to say congratulations on such a successful bond election. And second, I want to apologize for that long agenda item. It's just one of the requirements whenever we issue bonds. But you could tell Mr. Bryant's a veteran at this because he knew we could abbreviate that language. And so, again, thank you for having me here. What we've wanted to do this evening is share with you the plan to begin issuing those bonds so you could receive those funds to starting your construction project. And then after I finish with the financial component, I'll summarize as to the legal action that you're taking this evening and considering. And so I passed out a brief handout for you to review here. The first page after the cover sheet, just a reminder what we communicated to the voters when we called this bond election. We told them that we're asking them to allow us to issue up to $86.1 million in bonds on their behalf. We told them with those bond proceeds, we would build a new district performing arts center, additions and renovations to elementary and intermediate schools, and a new elementary and intermediate school. We also told them that the overall INS tax impact after all the bonds were sold over a 2-year period would be no more than 16 to 17 cents per $100 valuation, the increase to your INS or debt service tax rate. The next page, I'm happy to report to you that at least on a preliminary basis, it looks like we'll be well below that INS tax rate impact that we informed the voters. Primarily because based off of the preliminary taxable values that you're currently working with to prepare next year's budget, we're seeing a larger than expected increase in those property values. And so it's an inverse relationship. As those property values rise, the tax rates go down. And so here our plan for this issuance upon discussion with the administration is to not sell all the bonds at once. We want to stagger it over a 2-year period so that we won't hit the taxpayers all at once for that tax rate increase. And so here on the following page where it's the plan for the issuance of the bonds, we're looking at 2 annual installment sales. This summer we intend to sell $43.05 million in bonds. The INS tax rate that will be incurred this upcoming year that you're planning for would be just above 4 cents per $100 valuation. Then the plan would be to come back as early as the following year to sell the remaining bond authorization, and then the remaining impact would be felt at that point. One thing to note is that these tax rates that I'm showing you here are preliminary, of course. We're waiting to get the certified values for this upcoming year, and then, of course, depending on what property values would be the following year. But the good news is that instead of 16 cents, right now we're looking and projecting at a tax rate increase to cover the $86.1 million bond program of just above 12 pennies per $100 valuation. So that's a significant decrease that we all like to see. And so based off of a $100,000 taxable value on a home, that increase after it's incurred after a full 2-year period, we're looking at an annual increase of $126 on an annual basis of a tax increase to cover the bond program. And then we also break it off on a monthly and a daily basis. And just a reminder, those homesteads that already have the over 65 homestead exemption will not incur the tax rate increase. The following page are the next steps for the successful sale of this bond issue. Again, this summer we're planning on selling just above $43 million in bonds. The action that you're taking today is approving this financing plan and approving what we call a parameter sale. Then the intent is to competitively bid these bonds out, and the way that works is that we place a bid package out there to bond investors throughout the country, and whoever gives us and provides us the lowest interest rate on these bonds will be awarded the bonds in July. The plan is to go into the market and bid this out on July 14th. Then that'll get us monies in our bank account to start working on those projects on August 11th. The good news is that unlike previous times when we sold what we call new money bonds for new projects, is that we've become frequent bond issuers and have enough bonds in our books where the state allows you only to have to meet once. And so this evening, what you'll be doing is you'll be allowing myself and staff to start moving forward with bond documentation preparation. And then you're basically going to delegate the authority to Mr. Toscano to sign the final legal documents come July 14th when we bring in that low interest rate bid. Of course, we're happy to come after that time to apprise you and give you a summary of that bond sale. The last page here, ladies and gentlemen, is a term sheet. This is basically just a summary of the transaction. Again, the intent is to deliver $43.05 million in your project account come August 11th. The sale date will be scheduled for July 14th. The bonds will be structured and the repayment terms will be just like your existing bonds, where we're paying semi-annual interest payments and annual principal payments. What we've done in the past for new money bond issuance of new programs, we've kept the repayment term to 25 years, which is still shorter than average. Most districts would go about 30 years to repay these type of bond programs. So that's 5 years less of interest debt that you'll incur because of this plan. And so the good news is that the tax rate will still be manageable and below what we projected when we first started talking to the voters. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have at this point.
Anyone have any questions for Victor?
Looks pretty clear.
Victor, over the years, you've done an exceptional job for us of keeping our bond costs low. We're not absolutely tied to the second issue being in 2018. If y'all see something happening in the market where you think it's moving the wrong way for us, will our action tonight allow you to come back at that point and work with Mr. Toscano to move forward quickly? Or at that point, would there be another meeting required by the board?
That's an excellent question, and the answer is the only action that you're taking this evening is to issue up to $43.05 million this summer. But you're right, if something happens in the market, starts going away from us, we think it's better to sell sooner rather than later, then we'll come back to you and readdress that and get your reapproval for the second sale. Okay. Alternatively, the projects that you're considering are going to take time to build. You still have to design and bid things out. And so if for some reason we still have a significant amount of cash in our project account 12 months from now when we're getting ready to sell the second issue, that's not to say that we have to sell the second issue at that point. You could continue to hold off to issue those bonds. So it'll work both ways. But this evening, Mr. Bryan, all you're considering is selling $43.05 million this summer.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions? No? All right.
Mr. President, I recommend board approval of the order authorizing the issuance of East Central Independent School District Unlimited Tax School Building Bonds, Series 2016, levying a continuing direct annual ad valorem tax for the payment of the bonds as presented.
Thank you. We have a recommendation from the superintendent. Chair will entertain a motion. We have a motion by Mr. Massengale. Is there a second? Second. We have a second by Ms. Brazil. Any other questions? Any other comments? Victor, I know you congratulated us, but you really should have turned that way to congratulate the folks in the room, because those are the people who make this community run and who have the confidence of our citizens to have allowed this pass by the margin that it did. So,
great teamwork.
Yeah, they do exceptional work. All right, we have a motion on the table to accept the superintendent's recommendation on the selling of bonds. We have a second. Cheryl, all in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much for having me here, and we'll get to work.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Grove.
All right, does any board member wish to have an item pulled from the consent agenda? If not, Chair will entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented. We have a motion by Ms. Brazil. Is there a second? We have a second by Ms. Barrientos. The consent agenda is approved via unanimous consent. Before we adjourn, does anyone have anything else? Anything else for us?
No, sir.
All right. I know summer just started, but I hope everybody has a really relaxing time, get a chance to get away, get out of your school for a little bit. I know in the past we've had to take some keys away from some people, but get some time off, spend some time with your families, hug everybody, and we'll move forward with that. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion by Ms. Barrientos. Is there a second? We have a second by Ms. Brazil. We are adjourned via unanimous consent. Thank you, everyone.